stay. Everybody, come take my hand.
And how much different was your mindset when you didn't have a kid, when you didn't have a wife and kids, compared to what it was like after?
Yeah, I had no repercussions. I had nothing to lose when I was young. I had no, if I got injured, no big deal. But obviously, as I got married and had the first child come along, you got a little more okay. Now you got a baby to take care of, and your responsibilities shift a little bit. And as the second one, the third one, obviously 4 kids. I have my focus on the future is obviously the family and the kids and taking care of them and making sure their well-being is taken care of. So obviously my responsibility completely went from myself to a family and doing what's right for me in the future. And that was obviously, leaving the game and walking away from, my passion.
If you were speaking to a young guy who was going to do the job that you did in the NHL, what would be the first piece of advice you gave him?
Well, obviously it would be, never just focus on being a fighter. That role is completely diminished of saying just a fighter. Any big guy in the league now is pretty much a half-decent skilled player. They don't look like they're that skilled because obviously they're sitting on the bench for 2 hours, 2.5 hours with no ice time. And you throw any skilled player on the ice that's sitting there for 2 hours. But the focus is to play the game, play hard. Don't focus on the fighting aspect of it. Focus on, hard checking, hard-nosed player. And if you got to step up for your teammate, obviously everyone's always looking for a team player that's always willing to step up and protect their guys. So, it's play the game, play hard, and be smart.
But you're saying that some of those guys they can't do that job. They cannot do that job without fighting. And it's not because they like to fight. It's because the skills that they have won't allow them to be on the ice for more than 5 minutes a game unless they're fighting. So it's a bit of a problem when the guys come into the league and they feel this pressure that every night they have to go out there. They need to fight. But what would happen if one of their coaches or their GM said to them, hey, you know what? You're a good fighter. Everybody knows you can fight. But go out there and try and forecheck a little bit more. Would that help players?
Well, I would think so. I mean, obviously, when there's a guy in a role that's sitting on the bench, his only job is just to fight, and the coach doesn't give him no other responsibility, what's he going to think? Obviously, the game and life is about confidence. And if you don't get confidence from your coach or your parents, you're not getting it from anywhere. So, you need to be given that confidence to go out there and whether it's take a risk on something or, step up to the plate and do something that you're not sure you can do, or go out there and do a different role in the game. We're not talking about score goals. And most coaches are pretty good this day and age to tell their players, listen, get out there, work hard, dump it in, and forecheck hard. We need some energy from you. So I would assume in that this day and age, there's not too many coaches that are just sending players out there just to fight, play the game, play the role, and, work hard. And if it happens, so it be.
What's the most satisfaction you got from doing the job? Because guys like you didn't score a lot of goals, didn't put up a lot of points, but there has to be some sort of payoff.
Well, obviously the payoff is spending 10 years in the NHL and that life experience I had, playing with guys like Ray Bourque and Paul Coffey and, meeting so many guys, throughout the years of playing the game, Joe Thornton, and those life experiences that I had. It's a hard trade-off to lose because I've got so many great memories that I could pass on to my son and kids that I work with in the game. So it's probably the experience I had. Although it was difficult quite a few of the years, and, my wife could attest to that, and, she's like, well, I don't want, she's almost like, I don't want Kenny doing what you did, and I agree. And I said, but it's a game, right? I mean, it's something, as Canadians, we all accept the fact of playing the game that you're susceptible, you're putting yourself out there on the line for potential injuries. But I think, as a passion we all have inside of us, that it's just something we don't think about that side of the game. We just think about playing the game and having fun because it's the best game in the world.
Before we wrap this up, you suffered concussions throughout your career, and if you could go back and give it all up right now, would you do it or would you do it again?
It's crazy, but I'd do it again. I had so many great times and so many down times, but the great times were great. Obviously, the down times were down, but overall, the life experience I had, it was. I'd probably do it again.
I got one more question for you. if there's a way that we can learn something from Derek Bugard's death and prevent it from happening ever again, what would it be? How do we learn from this, and how do we make sure that this doesn't happen ever again?
I mean, it's communication and support. I mean, drugs are a powerful, entity out there, and we all know it. So we just got to be aware of, of our colleagues and friends and support guys. And you can obviously see when guys are going through issues and, be there for each other. I mean, obviously the reality is what happened to him is not the first time it's ever happened to nobody. He just happens to be a face in the media that they could look at and they could tear apart, or they could praise him. And depends what side you're looking on. If you're looking on saying, "Oh, look at him, he was a druggie, and he I can't believe he did that," but then you look on the reality, the other side of it, where his family side and friend side saying he was the greatest guy in the world, and he'd give back to everybody he could. You got the both sides of the coin you look at. So it's really support, communication, and helping, whether it's your friends or family, brothers or sisters, or your teammates, is making sure those communication lines are open. If you're acknowledging or foresee an issue coming up, I mean, you gotta bring it to attention as opposed to letting it go.
I hope you're right, and I hope the league and the hockey world learns a lot from this, because there's no reason for a guy like that to have to feel that alcohol and drugs are the only way that he can cope. And it's a really sad story, and hopefully it never happens again.
I'm not afraid to take a stand, take a stand. Everybody, come take my